This is kind of a quick demo of where I've gotten to now with the MIDI keyboard. This is a MIDI keyboard I'm calling the BP MIDI Mojo MIDI keyboard. Here's the blueprint behind it. A lot of blueprints associated with this. I started with a MIDI controller that for Unreal that I bought off the marketplace that did some of the things I wanted to, but not the kind of stuff I did. What it does do that is really kind of cool is it had a keyboard with automated keys that went up and down based on a MIDI note that would come in. So here's a kind of the demo of that. So I'm going to go and start it. And it goes and this is just telling me what MIDI stuff is hooked up. And I'm using something called Loop MIDI, which is there, and it kind of acts as a broker between MIDI software or software that's playing the MIDI versus software that might be receiving it. So this is listening to the MIDI device on port 1, on Loop MIDI port 1, and I set that up inside of Unreal Engine. So now I will play something. Let's go look at... all right, I'm firing up something amazing. Whoops, I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. Firing up Amazing Grace and Band in the Box. All right, and I've got this set up. I'm going to play just, it says guitar too. And if I was listening to it in the Band in the Box with the Band in the Box instruments hooked up, you'd hear a guitar for this lead. But since I've set it now just to send a MIDI channel 1 out, so when I start playing, it's going to send MIDI, and it's going to send the MIDI notes out on channel 1, on port 1, and Loop MIDI is going to be listening for it. So I'm going to go ahead and move some stuff over here. I'm just getting out of the way so you can see it work, and I'll walk over to the keyboard so it's a little bit closer. And there's still some work to be done with this. It's still a little rough, but I am now clicking the play button on Amazing Grace, and it's going to play just a melody line, hopefully. What should hopefully happen is the keyboard here hears it, and then it plays meta sounds, which I've written. I wrote a whole meta sound. I'll show you that real quick. I wrote a meta sound, and this is the heart of the whole thing. Just pick one of them here. Here's an example of the meta sound that I wrote. And it basically what it does is it slices up a wave file, and I've got a whole bunch of wave files loaded, not one for each note, but it basically plays a wave file. I'll put a video about that because it's pretty cool. It's something that was used in something called Sound Fonts years ago. And basically you load, like for the piano here has got I think 6 or 7, maybe 8 samples loaded to it. But what it does is my sound font that I wrote, what it'll do is it breaks the sound font into it breaks the sound wave into 3 parts: a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the middle is called the sustain loop. And so what I've done is using these sound font files where somebody else has done all this work, I figured where's a good place that you can sustain a note. So it plays the beginning, so it's like an attack. It plays the beginning of the note. Then it reaches a stable place in the note, in the sample, and plays the, I'll show you what that kind of looks like. Nah, I won't. I don't have it up. So, and then it loops that part, so it loops in kind of the middle of it until as many times as the key is still pressed down. And then when the key is released, it plays the end, the tail of the sample. And that way, you can play a note for as long as you need to play it. Versus if I don't do that, it just plays a sample file, and it's just like playing a drum. It only lasts so long. So if I wanted it to hurt for a whole note, if it was a quarter note, basically, long of a piano, and it would only play as long as it said, to play. So it would only play that quarter note. But with this thing, it would play a full whole note because it would just loop over in the middle part of the sample that has got basically the sustain part of that wave file. So, it's a complicated music nerd kind of thing I do. So let's play it and see if it works. It's playing, right? I already started it, so there it is. Still waiting, but now I'm going to click the play on the band in the box. So it should start. Here's what's going on in the band in the box that's actually playing it. So, but there you go. So it works. Now, what you heard the little that's the sustain loop playing, and what I do is I don't have on some of the notes the sound font file, whether I was reading it wrong or I've got something mixed up in there, is playing and it's not crossing over at a 0 point in the sample. So I need to clean that up for all these instruments I've got. But other than that, it works like I thought it would. And so I'll be doing more stuff on it. But that's what I got.